As Mali scrambles to contain the row over derogatory remarks made against India, sources tell WION that Maldives had proposed the visit of its president around January end. It was announced before the row. However, uncertainties now prevail over the Maldivian President Musu's proposed visit to India. It all started after Mohamed Musu came to power in October last year. He is known for his China leanings, moving away from the island nation's old ties with New Delhi. Now, breaking tradition, he skipped New Delhi as his first foreign visit and instead headed to Turkey. The Maldivian president is currently on a state visit to China. He is expected to meet President Xi Jinping. Beijing and Mali are also set to sign multiple bilateral agreements, but back home, Musu is trying to douse a diplomatic fire ignited by unwarranted remarks made by his ministers. Now, all three deputy ministers who made the unsavory remarks have been suspended, and Malchi Sharif, Mariam Shuna and Abdullah Masoom Majid all worked for the Ministry of Youth Empowerment, Information and Arts and were disciplined for their comments on social media. China is now trying to steer clear of this controversy. Beijing says it has never asked Mali to reject New Delhi because of its conflicts with New Delhi, nor does it view cooperation between the Maldives and India as unfriendly or as a threat. The remarks of the ministers have sparked outrage across India, with many Indian celebrities and political figures condemning the distasteful remarks. Meanwhile, the Maldives MP, Mikhail Naseem, has requested Parliament to summon the Maldives foreign minister. This to question the minister over the inaction and lack of urgency shown with regard to the incident. In an exclusive conversation with WION, the Maldivian minister reiterated his position.
We gave the government, I think, sufficient time to take action and to issue a formal apology, but we did not see that happen. And I think it is now time for the Parliament to intervene and question them as to why they have been not taking this issue as seriously as they should be, and what more is being done by the government to resolve the matter and bring a closure to this diplomatic row that is being created by some social media activists as well as senior officials of the current ruling party.
And as political figures in the Maldives have also condemned the comments of the ministers, the Maldives Nationalist Party referred to the remarks made by the ministers as unacceptable. Similarly, the Maldives Democratic Party released a statement demanding appropriate action against senior officials in question. And WION, in fact, spoke to the Maldives Foreign Defence Minister as well, Maria Ahmad Didi, and the former Vice President Ahmed Adir. Both spoke out against these comments.
Uncalled for, something that you should not, as ministers, do with the closest neighbor, from with whom we have had time immemorial, relationships that are so close. India has always come to our rescue whenever we needed them.
When you are in an elected position, you should not engage as an activist. So you have to be more responsible. And also these degrading remarks towards the global leader, Prime Minister Modi, and as well as racist comments against Indian citizens is not acceptable.
And well, to talk about the latest row with the Maldives, we're now being joined by Ambassador Mukherjee, the former Indian diplomat from New Delhi. And Ambassador Mukherjee, thanks very much indeed for joining us. How do you see the steps being taken by the Maldives so far to contain the controversy? India is an important source of tourists, and of course these kind of abrasive comments are certainly likely to hurt their own economy as well.
Yes, indeed, it is unprecedented. And let us not forget that Maldives is indebted to India for decades. During the pandemic, we gave them vaccines when we were short of vaccines ourselves. We've given them development cooperation. We sent tourists in bubble-free aircraft during the pandemic so that their economy doesn't collapse. And even today, Indian tourism is a very important revenue earner for Maldives. these remarks about India, about Indians, and about our government leadership and our Prime Minister are racist. They're in very poor taste. They're totally unacceptable. In my perspective, I welcome the fact that the ministers concerned have been suspended. I'm told there was a fourth person who's not been suspended yet. But that is not enough, considering that no less a personage than our Prime Minister has been targeted. It would be more than appropriate, in my perspective, for the spokesperson of the government of Maldives to issue a clarification, to distance Maldives from these remarks, to say that action has been taken against the errant deputy ministers, and to assure the government and people of India that they do not reflect the sentiments either of the new government of Maldives or of the people of Maldives. Already they can see the Maldivian government, the reaction on social media, not an official reaction, led by celebrities and normal people, citizens of India like you and me, who have said that they don't wish to go to Maldives for tourism if this is their attitude towards Indians, India, and our Prime Minister.
Right.
This is going to strongly damage their economy. So I would call for stronger action than what has already been taken. But I certainly welcome the fact that at least some action has been initiated.
Right. And Ambassador Mukherjee, now dates for the Maldivian president's visit for India are being decided sometime in January itself. And given the backdrop of these recent comments, how do you see that visit play out?
Well, this is the first time that the president of Maldives has deliberately decided to first visit China and describe China as one of Maldives' closest friends and allies, and then decide to visit India. That being said, if he wishes to visit India, depending on the convenience of our Prime Minister's diary, we would, I'm sure, accommodate his request. Perhaps he now wishes to do some damage control. Perhaps he has understood that these remarks have outraged national sentiments in India, not just government to government. And we would see how we can accommodate him. I don't know whether January is at all possible, because we are already towards the first half of January. We have the important Ayodhya event coming up, followed by 26th January, meeting of the retreat, etc. But I'm sure that the Ministry of External Affairs, in consultation with Prime Minister's office, would look at this request and see whether it can be accommodated or not.
Yeah, and given the fact that Ambassador Mukherjee is saying that, he made, a decision to visit China before India, how much of that is an issue, the clear leaning of this current dispensation for China and the steps being taken to show that, for example, the ouster of Indian armed forces and prioritizing China over India?
Well, first of all, if he is trying to signal that he wishes to embrace China and get into China's debt trap, that is his sovereign decision as President of Maldives. We have given development cooperation to Maldives and huge amounts of aid with no strings attached. The manner in which he's been talking about the Indian military presence in Maldives, one would get the impression that we have stationed an entire battalion of the Indian Army in Maldives. Not at all. They were there at the request of the previous government, and they are actually servicing Maldivian military assets at the request of the then Maldivian government. They are not there to take over the role of the Maldivian armed forces, and nor are they there as some kind of a hostile foreign interventionist force. The manner in which they have handled this matter in a very public way is itself highly reprehensible and needs to be also sorted out so that the wrong impression is not created that we are using Maldives as some kind of a military base to station our troops. Is very far from the truth. If we withdraw our forces, they would be in difficulty in servicing their own military assets, because they don't have that kind of technology. And many of those military assets actually have been provided free by India. So I think there's a lot of catching up that the Maldivian president needs to do about this issue before he makes these public remarks, which are not just hurtful, but which are factually inaccurate and incorrect.
Right. Right. Ambassador Mukherjee, thanks very much indeed for joining us with your thoughts on the latest row with the Maldives after those comments by its ministers.